Deep in North Wales sits the legendary trail centre of Coed Y Brenin. I've visited here many times over the years and ridden pretty much all of the trails, except one. This is Tarw, or the Black Bull. And yeah, sorry for the poor Welsh translation. This is a 20km long black graded trail, and it's perhaps best known for its iconic rock slabs. And these are the reason that I've come here today. I've never really ridden a rock slab before, so I'm keen to see how they work. I've climbed up my fair share of rocks in the past, but never really ridden down one. Being a long ride in the steep Welsh hills, I was prepared for my fair share of killer climbs and epic descents, but I was surprised at what I actually found here. So let's get cracking. The trail drops straight in from the car park by riding between the bull's horns. This first single track section gets you pedalling along some flatter but technical terrain. After a left-hand turn, the fun can really start. With plenty of obstacles to tackle, navigate and avoid, this flowing section is a good introduction of what you'll have to contend with later. I absolutely love the descents here at Coed Y Brenin, and I'll talk a little more about them later on. But this one has a good mix of flow, excitement and some cool rock features to have fun on towards the end. This is what this trail centre is all about. Tarw is the original trail here at the Brenin, and it's widely regarded as being one of the first purpose-built mountain bike trails in the UK and possibly beyond, so it's known for being a bit old school in places. As I'm riding, I'm going to tell you about my experience of this trail, and honestly I found this trail to be superb in some places, but not so good in others, and hopefully I'll highlight some positives and negatives throughout the video. So let's start with a huge positive. These descents are brilliant. Although it's clear that bar widths have progressed since the trail was first established.
Ooh, narrow. That was close.
As I said, it's a bit old school in places. But that's just one of the charms about this place. Awesome riding with a touch of the unexpected. Although these trails are well used, they seem to blend in well with the natural setting. I love the stepping stones used as riding surface. It feels way more in keeping than just paving it with hard-packed gravel. This also means that the trail itself is a bit more interesting. So once you've made your way down the first section, you have a bit of a pedal as you make your way over to the other side of the road before you join back up with a single track again. However, I wasn't paying enough attention and I missed the signpost to the left and ended up riding a few minutes in the wrong direction on some rather sketchy terrain.
Doesn't seem right. I feel like I've missed a signpost or something.
Eventually I doubled back and took the correct route. One of the negatives about this trail is the fire road boredom. Now e-bikers may have a very different experience of these trails than me on my manual acoustic Enduro bike, but this trail has a heck of a lot of fire road plodding. From the bottom of the last descent, there's a long way to pedal.
It's like a never-ending climb. I've been riding for about 45 minutes now, and apart from that first bit of downhill right from the car park, it's just been uphill since then. Whew.
About an hour after you set off, you turn onto the single track with some more uphill, except this is far more interesting. This is a technical and challenging blast on some rocky terrain which is genuinely quite fun. But once you're up here, you realise why you've been climbing for so long. Making the last rocky traverse along here, you soon find yourself looking down the barrel of a steep rocky slab. This certainly looks steep from up here, so let's head down and take a look. So I've come across the first slab here. There's a few different sort of line options you can take, and it didn't take long for me to select my line. So today I want to ride this, a set of slabs and staircases right from the very top, down the first section, down the staircase, down this steep slab. So I can see why this is given a black grade. I'm looking straight down this slab here, and this is the second, well, of two slabs you've got to ride. That's the first one up there, down these sort of step things, down into this really steep one. So yeah, I've never ridden a slab before. Let's give it a try. After taking a look, I couldn't wait to give it a go. Thinking that this would just be a simple roll, I wasn't too worried about it. But I have been wrong before.
Okay, here we go.
First one done, and now into the stairs.
Steep one. Oh yeah. Nice.
That was superb. It's actually just a simple roll, so not too bad.
I don't know how I get back up it to get the camera that I left up there, but there we go.
After the slab, I was excited to see what the trail had in store next.
Oh, hello. What's this?
A second bigger set of slabs.
Yeah, straight in. And another one, let's do this, blind. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, that was good.
I have to say that these slab sections are a great place to play around. As you can imagine, this is not the kind of feature you come across a lot in the UK, so it's something different to try. So with the iconic slab successfully ridden, I carried on down the trail. From here, you're back on the rocky single track riding through the woodland. Up until now, the trail seems to be running from one extreme to the other, from hours of climbing to short intense rock rolls. It's safe to say that I found this current change in tempo towards trail riding a refreshing feeling. On paper, this trail is only 20 kilometers with less than 500 meters of climbing. It certainly feels like more than that to me, but I guess it will depend on your fitness and your bike choice. The trail guide said that it can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours to ride. After messing around on the slab section for a little while, I was certainly closer to the 3-hour mark. This whole section was an undulating and technically challenging piece of trail. The rocks were awkward and you need to focus on the trail to calculate where your turns and pedal strokes are going. And I have to tell you, this was brilliant fun. And again, this highlights another great thing about the trail, the variety of different types of riding you're going to enjoy. So far we've had plenty of climbing, we've played on some unique rock slabs and taken on some technical traversing sections. In fact, all that's missing is some descending. Speaking of which, the next 3 sections are known as the Rice Krispies, named after the cereal mascots Snap, Crackle and Pop. Snap here is a good natural feeling trail with a healthy dash of, you guessed it, rocks. And hopefully you're noticing a bit of a rocky theme appearing on this trail. Snap is a chance to get flowing on your bike with nothing too challenging that can catch you out. However, the track can be a little thin in places, which has created a bit of a rut. This can be tricky when you have a longer bike, as I kept catching the edges and going offline, but it all adds to the challenge of the trail. This is a decent length section that gets you in the spirit of descending again. After riding all the previous slower sections, you learn the type of features you're going to see on a trail like this. Well, Snap now gives you the chance to see how you manage them when you go in a speed. As you get lower down the trail, it gets a bit chundery, and I think I might have taken a bit of an alternate line by mistake. But after all the climbing and traversing, I'm happy to ride any descent that this trail wants to give me. The next section is Crackle, a short, sharp blast through the woodland. Speed is your friend on a section like this, because it helps you to ride above the bouncing rocky surface, even if you can't see the surface because of the leaves. But trust me, it's there, and on this section, it is rowdy. Dropping into Pop, this is another short, rocky and leafy section. This is probably my favourite of the 3 because it blends a good amount of speed with an interesting line, and it continues the bumpy technical terrain. I would love to tell you a bit more about the features on here, but to be honest, the fallen leaves stopped me from seeing any of what I was riding over. This certainly added to the mystique of the trail. Either way, Snap, Crackle and Pop are an interesting trio, and despite the leaves, the terrain didn't feel slippy or out of control, just good fun. After riding the Rice Krispies, you then have another long fire road plod, all the way over to the other side of the forest before you get to the next section. This really is another long, boring pedal with nothing really to write home about. But once you're here, you get to the start of one of the longer single track sections.
Okay, Rocky Horror Show.
And in today's conditions, it was very interesting.
Straight into a puddle. This is sopping wet.
This is probably one of the fastest sections on the trail. It has a mixture of steeper and flatter sections, fast straights, and of course, plenty of rocks. Like any video from Coed Y Brenin at the moment, it's worth mentioning all the turmoil currently going on with the removal of funding to the visitor centre and trails, with their potential closure. At this time the video is going out, there's a big meeting being held with the powers that be to talk about the ongoing trail maintenance. As it currently stands, the visitor centre is going to be closed or offered out privately, but maintenance will continue on the trails. However, a lot of local groups and businesses are a bit sceptical about the level and frequency of the potential maintenance and the long-term impact this could have. I don't know any more at this point, and I don't want to spread any more misinformation, so I guess we'll have to see what happens. All I know is that these trails are great, and it would be an almighty shame if they were to fall into disrepair or close altogether. Back on the trail, I was still getting sprayed with water in every way possible. It wasn't the fact that it was wet, but it's also freezing cold out today, a savage combination for any rider. But even in these conditions, it's one of the fastest descents here, and it's still a lot of fun. My advice when riding in conditions like this is not to avoid the water, but to lean into it. Once you're wet, and with that out of the way, you can just focus on the riding. Although trying to wipe the camera lens and ride a rocky descent is a pretty special combination of sketchiness that I wouldn't recommend. But just imagine what it would be like in the dry. Dreamy. After Rocky Horror Show, you have another stint on a fire road. I'm not going to show you any of this because if I kept all the footage of me riding fire roads, it would be 90% of this video and there'll be no time to show you any single track. So let me skip over to here with the next descents, man trap, pins and needles and flight path. Man trap here is a short but sweet section. Interesting enough, but nothing too noteworthy to highlight. Pins and needles on the other hand is brilliant. To sum this section up in one word, it can only be rowdy. This rock armoured trail is an undulating bone shaker of a ride, and it's easily one of my favourite sections. It has elements of technically challenging trail, it's a decent length section, it undulates so you need to be able to climb and descend well, and it's a solid effort from start to finish. You never really know what's going to come around the next corner. On a section like this, you can take it as fast or as slow as you like. Again, this is going to be an e-biker's delight. The ability to easily maintain a decent speed throughout the rocks and bumps would be a real game changer on a section like this. So before taking on Tarw D today, I went and rode another trail for a couple of hours. So I'll be honest, by this point in the trail, my legs were absolutely shot. I can see why this section is called Pins and Needles.
Oh yeah.
And with that, it's worth noting that after riding for a couple of hours, with the fast-paced riding and super gnarly terrain, there's plenty of chances to get it wrong on a section like this. So just keep your wits about you. With all the times I've been to Coed Y Brenin, I started wondering why I've never strayed onto this trail, but it's because it's the other side of the valley across the main road from the other trails. It's not somewhere you go unless you plan to ride this. So if you've got the legs and you're up for an adventure, give this descent a go. Between this and the next section flight path, you get a really long and really involved descent worthy of any rider. On my way up the fire roads, I was questioning if the climbs were worth the descents, but these two sections combined are definitely worth a big climb or two. When I ride mountain trails like this, I think it's important to remember that you have to earn your descents. If you want a long and impressive descent, you have to be willing to put in the effort on the savage climb up, or buy an e-bike. But even then, you still have to put in a fair amount of effort, so there really is no such thing as a free ride. This section is slightly more gravity oriented than the last one, but it's still just as technical. As somewhere like Coed Y Brenin, this is just another standard descent, but pick this up and put it at your local and it would easily be the best descent there by far. Just because the standard of most of these descents is really, really high. Another reason why it would be a travesty if this place were to close.
Oh yes.
At this point in the trail, you have the option to continue back down to the trail centre or follow the loop back up the fire road and then back down R74, the last long section of single track. Because of the long climb up, I was looking forward to another long flowing ride back down. But little did I know. I really enjoy both descents. In places like here, Quimcarn or Pen Macno, they really seem to have an interesting balance between the exciting descent and one that works with the environment. They're challenging with a natural feel. The trails aren't just filled with hard-packed gravel, they feel like they've been thought about and made in keeping with the woodland vibe, and I really enjoy that about the trails at Coed Y Brenin. In terms of this particular section of trail, it starts well with a decent amount of speed, but it feels like one of those bendy funhouse mirrors that makes something look different to what it is. Because after you've just spent however long riding uphill to get to this descent, I still seem to be going uphill on the way back down too. How does that even work? Now, these mountainous mixed terrain trails are my kind of riding. They're rocky and challenging in many different ways. However, overall, I found a lot of Tarw D to be a bit of a slog. I just found the ratio of time spent pedalling uphill compared to the rest was just not in favour of fun. And I should say that of course trails in the Welsh countryside are going to have a lot of large uphills. Don't worry, I knew what I signed up for. But with so many trails here to choose from at the Brenin, you have to weigh up the literal hours spent on a fire road, and if they're worth it for just 3 or 4 decent descent sections. As I mentioned before, e-bikers will be able to make short, easy work of the lengthy uphills and pedally sections, potentially unlocking a whole new world of excitement on this trail. So for many riders, this could be a really good option. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the weather here today is pretty darn cold. This made the climbs brutal and played havoc with my GoPro batteries. So as I ride the very last section, it was a race against time or which would fail first. The strength in my legs or the batteries in my camera. And then, literally at the end of the last section of trail, the GoPro died. Yeah, so my battery died there literally 30 seconds before the end of the trail, and you really didn't miss much. It was just more of the same. So I'm now back at the visitor centre. It's just above me. Looking forward to getting into some dry kit. So thanks for watching the video. Remember to like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the comments.